Hello and welcome to Safe Schools. I'm Curtis Graves.
I'm Andy Howard.
Andy, we have a great show today. We're going to be talking to Ms. Meosha Hart with Mobile Police Department, Family Intervention Team, and Office of Strategic Initiatives. A lot of work that PD is doing in the field of intervention and prevention and taking a holistic approach to doing it.
You know, it's interesting to have this kind of conversation. I wonder if the average person realizes all of the things that the police department is doing nowadays, besides, you know, that traditional thing that people see the police as. Y'all wearing
arresting people.
They're wearing a lot of hats, man. Yeah, you're doing a lot more than just arresting people. You're trying to make a difference in a lot of ways. Yeah. It's a good thing. I look forward to today's show. I think it's going to have an impactful influence on the conversation.
Well, let's hope so. We'll be right back.
As a student in the Mobile County Public Schools, there are a few things I've come to expect. One is a quality education, and the other is a quality lunch. Not only are our school meals well balanced, meeting all federal nutritional standards, but they also have less fat, fewer calories, and they taste really good. Oh, and I forgot to mention, our school lunches contain whole wheat, grains, fruits, and vegetables to give me the energy and brain power to get me through the day.
Hi, Meosha. Welcome.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing a bit of your time with us today. And, you know, just a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
I'm a native Mobilian.
Okay, and you went to school here?
I did. I went to Baker High School, graduated from Baker High School, but I went to Baker all the way through.
Baker K through 12?
Yes.
Wow.
Meosha, as a Baker K through 12 student, did you envision yourself working for the police department?
I did not. My initial plan was to go to law school, and then that changed, and decided I wanted to work with kids. That was my calling. I knew my calling was to work with kids, so I wanted to do juvenile probation until I actually did my internship with Strickland Youth Center. I realized that the change that I wanted to affect, I couldn't affect there. I wanted to be a little bit more proactive and catch kids before they got to that point. So. Just made my way through and eventually found the Family Intervention Program with the police department.
All the way from K. Baker to making a difference in the community. Right. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
I'm glad you made that choice. So how has it been? So what's the experience been since you've gotten with the police department? What you guys doing over there?
It's been interesting, challenging sometimes, but very rewarding. The kids and families that we work with, to see them progress from when we start working with them to when we complete or close the case out, it's very rewarding for us as well as the kids and the families that we work with.
So how do you end up interacting with families? What are the scenarios that allow or cause you to find yourself interacting with a family?
Okay, so various scenarios. It could be issues at school, behavior problems, or grades slipping, and teachers and staff are noticing there's some behavioral changes with the kids. Not so much, it doesn't have to be so much adverse behavior, just any type of behavior where the kids are not behaving normally, or there can be behavior issues at school, or even at home. Parents are experiencing issues with their kids at home, and they can bring them to the precincts and contact Family Intervention, and we can work with them there. Just various types of scenarios. We get a lot of referrals from the school system, both in the Mobile County public school system as well as some of the private schools. Parents that walk into the precincts, and then other agencies that know about the Family Intervention Program can refer kids to us as well.
You know, the Family Intervention Team has been around for a very long time, since the early 90s.
98.
Or late 90s. But nonetheless, we've seen an evolution on the amount of areas that the Family Intervention Team currently does now, especially under the Office of Strategic Initiatives. And you work very closely in helping us keep those things moving in that forward direction. Let's talk about some of the things that we're working on right now in that office as it relates to prevention and intervention.
Okay. One of the programs that we have is our You Still Have a Choice program. And we have an officer and some of the family intervention specialists that go into the middle schools and talk to the kids about the choices that they're making right now and how they still have an opportunity to turn some of those adverse behaviors, or if it's a grade issue, if their grades are not up to par, excuse me, what they want to do in their future, they have an opportunity to turn those things around and get themselves back on track and make better choices for their future. And that we implement into our middle schools with our middle school kids, again, public, private, whatever the case may be. We also have our anti-sexting program. We had a high school that came out some years ago, and the kids in the school were really concerned about the sexting and the child pornography that were going on in their school. So we created a presentation that we do from the 7th grade all the way through the 12th. And we talk to them about what the law says that sexting is, what the consequences are, both immediate and long-term. We talk to them about some of the things that they're sharing online in regards to themselves, but just information that they're sharing online that could potentially attract predators. So again, we implement that in grades 7 through 12. We also do our Bridging the Gap program, where we bring high school students out to our metro range, and we put them through different scenarios to help them to understand how to interact with law enforcement. They also get to ask any and every question that they can think of or that they ever wanted to know in regards to law enforcement. We get a lot of why and how comes and things that the kids have encountered through their lifetime, and just getting them to be able to process that with some of the police officers that are there to give them a positive outlook with law enforcement, so they can get a better understanding of what goes on outside of what they see on the media, because we know what the media shows and what actually happens can be two totally different things. So we try to give them a better outlook of what they can expect and how they can have better encounters with law enforcement.
I just wonder, as a young person is engaged with that Bridging the Gap element, as you were talking, I was just thinking to myself, once a young person hears that conversation, engages in that dialogue with law enforcement, have you had any kids to then come back and talk about maybe they wanted to do law enforcement or do something that you do?
They do, because of that change in their outlook in law enforcement. That is something that opens their eyes. So, well, maybe that's something that I want to do. Or if they ask one of us what it is that we do, they don't realize that you can work in law enforcement and not be a law enforcement officer and do things that do pertain to law enforcement. So they are interested in what we do as well. But that program is really an eye-opener to what law enforcement is, and gives them a better outlook of what our officers do on a day-to-day basis.
So I guess that's a different perspective, and maybe to a large portion of our audience, they don't necessarily know that we got people that work for the police department that don't put people in jail.
Right.
Let's go back to the anti-sexting campaign. What have been, from your view, some of the most pressing concerns that have been brought to you?
The majority of the time when we do a presentation with our kids, we do have kids that come up to us, or we notice in the going of our presentation that they're having a reaction to what we're talking about, and we come to find out that they're experiencing, have already experienced, or are experiencing some type of issue with sexting or child pornography, or even maybe molestation in their home. So we do pay attention to that when we do our presentation, so that we can pull those kids to the side and talk with them and see what it is what's going on with them, and see what it is that we can do to help with that child.
This is a lot of good information you're sharing. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.
I believe my child's school is probably one of the best ones I could have picked in Mobile. She's in the PACE program. The teachers are phenomenal. The principal, couldn't ask for a better principal. The research that I had done myself, I believe the quality of education in Mobile County Public School System is excellent. For me and my child, I'm going to stick with the public school system. I think it's the way to go.
It's a fact. Bullying happens. Bullying can lead to serious physical and emotional pain. But there are some things you can do to prevent or stop it. Stand up for the person who's being bullied. Let the bully know that it's not cool to pick on others. Take action by reporting the bully to a teacher or principal. In the end, when you help someone who's being bullied, you are also helping yourself.
And we're back. We're going to continue having this conversation about the sexting program, the anti-sexting program you guys are working on. Continue to tell me a little bit more about that.
So throughout the presentation, again, we talked to them about the law and what the law says that sexting is and what child pornography is, and we give them those age ranges. We also pull up the sex offender registry. A lot of them have not heard of the sex offender registry, don't know what it is, and that's one of the consequences if you are a convicted sex offender. You go on the sex offender registry, and a lot of kids don't realize that. So we pull that up. We don't show any names or faces or anything like that, but we show the map of where these individuals are, and we let them know this is available to everybody. Federal law says that we have to know where these individuals live. So they get really interested in that because they have no idea that exists.
I think one of the other things too, Meosha, is that a lot of people don't understand that there are two different investigations going on when something like that is reported, some type of sexual crime. DHR, they do their own, as well as law enforcement. Law enforcement can decide that they're not going to prosecute a case, but DHR can find evidence to support indication where they indicate that person as a sex offender. Right. That's just as damaging as being arrested.
Absolutely, right? Because once that person tries to go and get a job, that can show
that's
up, and if it's on their record, and if they're specifically working somewhere where children are, that's a job that they're not going to be able to get, and we explain that to the kids.
So they change their future.
It changes their future, even going off to college. You know, if you're a convicted sex offender and you're often, or indicated by DHR as a sex offender, you're trying to go off to college, it makes it very difficult for them, so we try to explain that to them as well.
And just not fully appreciating the dynamics of technology and ill behavior.
Right. Right, we talk to them about, you know, how they portray themselves online, what they wear, how much they show, the language that they use, and we try to connect that with the things that they're wanting to do in the future. We always have, of course, athletes in the room, so we talk to them about, you know, when you're getting ready to go off and get recruited and you want to play football or you want to play basketball, and they go back and they check your social media and you have all of this profanity or you're half naked, that's an issue. And a lot of colleges, a lot of employers, they are checking people's social media before they hire them to see what type of people they're hiring.
That's just a baseline as part of the screening process now.
Right. And the kids' eyes get really big when we tell them that because they don't realize, I mean, they're kids. They don't realize that. So that program really opens their eyes up, not just to the sexting and child pornography piece to it, but also to the things that they're doing and putting out on their social media pages that could have a negative effect on them in their future.
And it stays there. It never goes
away. It stays
away.
there. Or it's screenshot and it never goes away.
Okay. I'm sure we have viewers right now that are probably with their mouths open, not realizing that the things that we're discussing are things that they may have participated in. And that's what we're going for. We're going for the shock and awe because we want people to understand that there is a shock to this. The shock is being arrested for something and then realizing later that it will follow you for the rest of your life. Let's pivot to Project AIM, Adult Identity Mentoring.
Okay, Project AIM is a program that we've been doing for the last maybe about 3 years, and we do that in our high schools with our 9th graders, and we're doing that program through the ROTC leadership development classes because in many of our high schools, all of our 9th graders have to take that class, so we're trying to reach all of the 9th graders. But Project AIM, Adult Identity Mentoring, is a program that helps the kids to identify who they are right now and the behaviors that they're displaying and the people that they're hanging around with and all those things, who they are right now as a person, and who they want to be in their future, and we try to connect those dots for them. So if we have a child right now that's saying that they want to be a nurse and they're, once they graduate, they want to go to nursing school, but right now your grades are failing, you're not doing the best, with your behavior. That's not going to translate to you being a nurse in the future unless we do something about it now. So it kind of shines a light on what, them academically, them behavior-wise, everything that the people that they hang around, their influences right now, to give them an opportunity to make some changes so that they can be who they want to become in their future.
Is there any time is there a shock when they hear their peer talking about what their plan is and realizing that they're so far behind them in thought?
They do, because a lot of the kids, they really don't, it's shocking because they don't talk about those things with one another. They go to school with each other every day, but they really don't talk about, well, I want to do this and I want to do that in my future. Or that you have that quiet kid in class that never talks, but when we start talking in Project AIM and they're saying they want to do all these great things, and you see all the rest of the kids, it's like, okay, this child wants to be a neurosurgeon. Never knew that, and the things that they're doing academically now can get them there. Okay, now I need to do something, because this is the child that I kind of looked up to, and saw as a good influence, and I need to get on track with them. So they do kind of open up in their own lane, but also when their peers are looking at all these employment opportunities or things that they want to do in their future, they kind of straighten up.
So what do you think now? So are kids telling you that conversation about what do you want to be is sometimes the first time they've had the opportunity to have that conversation for real? What do you really want to do with your life?
Right, and giving them the opportunity to really research that out. And Project AIM gives them the opportunity. So what they do is they do an inventory. So they it's kind of a checklist of things that they're interested in. And by that inventory, they put this information into a database, and it pulls up jobs that they will be good at.
Okay.
A lot of the times, it's exactly what the kid was thinking that they wanted to do. So once they either select their job that they knew that they wanted to do, or they kind of research and find something, okay, I'm interested in that, they can then go to the Department of Labor's website and pull up salary, pull up where best in the country to have that job, the type of education, and they can choose, when they put their information in, they can choose to put in that they just want a high school diploma, a high school plus a tech school, or they want to go to college, and they'll pull up jobs for them based on what their academic goal, their educational goals are. So they can see, well, I want to be a nurse, but if I just want to get high school education, that doesn't translate. So all those things that they thought that they were going to be able to do, it kind of fleshes that out for them. And they're able to really dig into that career field and explore and see what it is that they need to do to get there. A lot of times kids are told, okay, well, you're going to go off to school and you're going to make something of yourself, but they're not told the steps that they have to take to get there.
Yeah, what's the something?
Right, what's the something?
And
they
how
just
do I
tell them to
get to
graduate high
something?
school and go to college, and they don't give them the in-between. Project AIM kind of gives them that in-between.
And in full disclosure, we adapted that program to meet the needs of the Mobile Police Department. Program originally is a health model, evidence-based model, right? That went towards abstinence.
Right.
And we have we made some adjustments to that program to address our greatest concern, and that is making sure that our population of students, particularly our 9th grade population, actually move forward in the transition from 9th to 10th grade, because what we've seen in law enforcement is that our greatest number of incidents that occur with our K through 12 population, we see it most greatly from our 9th grade population.
So if you plan on doing nothing, you are very likely to succeed.
Right.
At doing nothing.
Exactly. So we try to give them the in-between. We give them the meat of what it is that they really want to do. How can you accomplish that? We even talk to them about, okay, especially our seniors, so we do have juniors and seniors that are in the program, and we help them to find out, okay, if you want to be a nurse or be an engineer, what are the best colleges that you go to? And we explain to them, just because a college has a program, it may be a decent program, but it may not be the best program. So we kind of help them to identify some of those colleges that they can apply to that have great programs in their career field, and talk to them about the ACT and about scholarships and all those types of things.
You're providing a lot of good information for viewers, and we're going to continue to do that after this commercial break.
Nonviolence will start with me.
Nonviolence will start with me.
All across the Mobile County public school system, students are taking the pledge.
I pledge to accept the responsibility of my actions.
To solve problems peacefully.
Respect myself and others.
The 100 Days of Nonviolence Pledge. It's an initiative to help explore alternative means of stopping violence among school students. Will you take the challenge? Get involved. Take a stand. 100 Days, 100 Ways.
And we're back. Meosha, we want to talk about Project Thrive. Tell the viewers what Project Thrive stands for.
Project Thrive stands for Trauma Healing in the Wake of Violent Events.
Wow.
Yeah.
And resilience. Trauma healing, resiliency in the wake of violent events.
Tell everyone what that means.
What we're looking at is the sum of our lives is everything that we've experienced up until that point. And oftentimes we've experienced some type of trauma along the way that affects how we go on from that point forward. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to help individuals to identify what trauma is and identify those traumas in their lives and provide whatever issue, whatever assistance they need to cope with and overcome that trauma.
We used to think about going to the scary house on Halloween and what that did to that young person in the moment. And then they were relieved that that was not real. When it's real, where's the relief there? What are we doing for that community that once we identify that they're experiencing trauma, what are some of the things that we can do to help them?
So what we're doing is we've created a what's the word that I want to use? A team of people from different agencies that provide different types of care. We have individuals who provide, agencies who provide counseling. We have health care. We have whatever type of assistance that particular person. There's no cookie cutter. Everybody's trauma is not the same. Everybody's lifestyle is not the same. So we provide services to that particular person and their particular need. We all can experience the same type of situation, but be affected 3 completely different ways. And the way we approach you may be different than the way that I'm approached. So we do tailor our referrals and our assistance, counseling, the whole 9 to what that particular individual and family needs.
There's no cookie cutter
No
model.
cookie cutter.
And because we all are different.
We are.
And we all react to circumstances differently. And so, you know, us addressing this conversation is significant. When you're young and you experience trauma, can that have a significant impact or influence on what happens next?
Absolutely.
Especially if it's not addressed and treated and dealt with.
What we do know by research is that when a child experiences a trauma, it changes the neurobiology of their brain. So that affects everything. That affects our outlook, that affects our emotions, that affects our physical development. So experiencing trauma at a young age has a great impact on kids, and when it's not addressed, when it's not identified and addressed, that's something that a child has to carry the remainder of their life. and it can come out sometimes in negative ways by their negative behavior, lack of physical development, lack of mental development. It comes out in various ways.
You know, some people will say, why is law enforcement diving into this? And my response would be, why wouldn't we? Understanding that we cannot arrest our way out of the problem that we see in our city as well as in our country. We have to think from a standpoint of prevention and intervention and how to holistically address issues so that we can mitigate the damage that occurs from traumatic experiences, because it will manifest itself in our communities through behavior.
Right, and a lot of times our officers see those things first, and the quicker we can get somebody to help that child or that adult in their trauma, the better off they'll be in the long run. So if our officers are seeing them first, and they can refer to Project Thrive, and we can start working with that family immediately, that's only going to help that child or that family all the more.
So when bad things happen, who's going to get that first call?
The law enforcement.
And then when bad law enforcement gets there and sees that bad things have happened and people need help, who do we think is going to feel some obligation to do something about it?
Well, that'd be us.
That'll be
us, and we're within law enforcement, so we're right there. Our officers are aware of the family intervention team and aware of Project Thrive, so they know that they have somebody within our department who they can refer to that can respond immediately and start helping that person.
And so telling somebody just to get over, that's just not adequate.
Absolutely not.
I think oftentimes we tell people that to get over it's because we don't know the answer to the problem.
Don't know how to do it.
And it's uncomfortable.
Our goal,
give them no tools to do it.
Right. But the goal with Project Thrive is to fill those blanks with solutions by identifying resources, everyday resources that we need, that someone needs, so that we can actually say, no, this is how you can resolve this issue.
Right. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're just trying to connect the dots.
But if successful, and giving a person some skills to deal with trauma and the conflicts that can occur, to create resilience in that person, they're better themselves. And not only are they not experiencing a problem, in your all's case, you all prevent somebody from becoming the next problem.
Absolutely. And generations to come, when an individual learns that resiliency and those coping skills, those are things that we teach to our kids, and our kids teach to their kids. So you're creating a generational effect. Just like if that trauma is never addressed, that person is parenting or will be parenting from their trauma. So they'll put that on their kids and so on and so forth. So we're trying to curtail that, so that we're putting positive and that resiliency into these families, so that can carry on from generation to generation.
So either you're duplicating trauma-causing behavior or trauma-resolving behavior.
Right.
You know, the information provided today is something that I hope that anyone who is watching this pay close attention to what's being said, so that they can give it pause and at the same time apply it to their lives, because change starts when you make the decision to change. Meosha, thank you so much for coming out, sharing this information with us and with the viewers. I think it was a great moment to learn more about trauma.
Thank you for coming on. I appreciate the conversation.
Thank you.
Safe schools. Thank you.